So yeah, I think bottom line, what I'm trying to say here is that making money is not as difficult as most people make it out to be, you know? I feel like for most people making money is this like aloof, esoteric concept of like, oh, you need a lot of luck and you need the right connections and you need to have the business idea. And, you know, obviously mainstream media amplifies that, you know, like, oh, anybody who's made a lot of money is special or, you know, or has been very lucky and stuff like that. But I think to start, anybody that wants to make money to start, the first step is something that I was very lucky to have, if I may say that, and that is a despise for mediocrity, a despise for 9-to-5 life. And I'll never forget that. It was summer of, I don't know, 2005 or something like that. I was 14, 15, 16 years old. And I come from a very small cow town in the Austrian Alps. And, you know, like this like small town mentality is like, you get a summer job, right? You go to school and then in the summer you get a summer job. And all my friends had summer jobs and, you know, they'd be working, you know, 2 months, the whole summer. They would, you know, wake up in the morning. Some guys would work at a construction site. Some guys would work in, you know, in like a cafe. And I was working as a gardener. I'll never forget that. And after the second week, we would all meet in the park. We would sit together in the park, my buddies and I, after work. And I'd be like, how can you live like that? I hate my summer job. I hate getting up in the morning. I hate having to go to bed early. I hate having to be there. It's summer, goddammit. I want to be free. You know, I had a little bad, like a crappy bicycle. I'm like, I want to take my bicycle, ride around, go to the lake and jump in and stuff like that. And I was just like complaining so much about that. And all my friends were just kind of, they accepted it. They were like, yeah, you know, it's a summer job. It's what you got to do when you make money. And you know, I remember thinking back then, it's like, is that growing up? Is that what growing up and becoming responsible means? Like basically giving up on life and taking some sort of whack compromise as life. And I could never wrap my head around it. And then, you know, as I grew older, you know, early 20s, I was well on my path to become a teacher for a high school teacher for Latin and English. Because again, here, compromise, right? That's like the big point, compromise. I thought like, oh, you know, that's the least bad, crappy compromise that I could think about. Because, you know, as a teacher, I would still get the summer off and, you know, I would teach something that I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about languages, always have been, still am. And I would kind of like slowly but steadily lose passion for life in general. And I would slowly but steadily accept the fact that, you know, my life, once I'm graduating from university, is going to be, you know, I'll start working in the school. I'll make my 1,500 euros a month. Jesus Christ. And I'm going to be teaching bratty kids that don't appreciate my time for very little money. But yo, I got July and August off, everybody. And I almost caught myself, like almost as if you catch yourself falling before you hit the ground. I caught myself and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. I kind of felt like I still want to help people, right? I still want to teach something, but I felt like I want to teach something that I'm so passionate about that I could do it for free. And obviously languages are not like that. I said, there's something in my life that I really, really want to be helping people with. And obviously I want to make it in a way. That's what my young brain said. I want to make it in a way so I can be free. So it allows you to travel the world and do cool things. And slowly but steadily, I've worked on my social life. I've always been an introvert. I've always been a nerdy kid. You know, I was the guy who would run around in a Slayer shirt or Dragon Force and, you know, talk about Final Fantasy and Metal Gear video games like that. And I've always been a little bit of an introvert. And I learned how to become more social because I was very lonely. You know, I didn't have a thriving dating life. So I started to become more social and, you know, started getting a girlfriend and stuff like that. And that was something that I taught myself. And, you know, I learned it a lot from back then mentors who, you know, helped me get out of my shell a little bit and stuff like that. And I said, it's slowly but steadily, I'm like, I like that. I could do that. And I spent an evening or an afternoon with a good friend of mine. Back then, I was studying abroad in Washington, D.C., still for languages, Latin and English. I was still signed up for that. But we would often go out, me and my friend, and I would kind of help him get out of his shell. And, you know, I would do like what is it called, like comfort zone exercises with him, you know, like walking down the street with like your hand held up and stuff like that. And I remember I would send him off to like do a comfort zone, to an uncomfortable challenge for him out in public. And I see him like running off, and I look at him, and I still have that in my brain. That one thought is like, I could do this forever. I found something that I was so passionate about that I said, this is something I want to turn into my profession. And it was a coaching profession. And I remember coming home after that abroad trip where I was studying abroad. I was coming back to Vienna, and I was, about to get back into the daily routine of studying at the University of Vienna. And I would sit there in these lecture halls, and the teachers would prepare us for how it would be when we teach our first, pupils, our students in class, and what we got to do to prepare that. I'm like, and the more I listened, the more I felt this inner resistance, this urge to be like, this is not what I want. This cannot be my future. This, like, if this is going to be my life, I don't want to live. And that's the craziest thing too. I think that's why oftentimes I get messages, on Instagram, because I try to reply to every DM, or at least read every DM that I get on Instagram. I get that often that people write, oh, I can resonate with your stuff so much. And I think that is why, because I have so much passion in not having to subscribe to that 9-to-5 mentality. And I think that people feel that. People feel that resonance. They resonate with it a little bit. And anyways, and I said, okay, I want to do coaching. And long story short, I don't want to bore you too much with this now, but long story short, I found a way to, work for free as an unpaid assistant for a very, very big company for social dynamics and dating advice. And they would also do, personal development. And, I worked for free. I didn't get anything paid. I had to work for free for 6 months, get a ton of debt. In fact, they invited me to go to Miami and help them out there as an unpaid assistant. And, again, I'm from Austria, so I had to borrow money from my parents, borrow money from my friends, borrow money from my brother and my bank. And I'll never forget, I had that opportunity. They invited me, and I asked, when would you like me to come? And they said, tomorrow. And I'm like, I'm in Austria. Like, this is a big deal for me. I have to, quit my university. I had again, another crappy job that kind of kept me afloat. And I have to, get rid of my apartment somehow. Give me 2 weeks. And they said, okay. And in these 2 weeks, I had to come home. And I talked to my parents, and, I surprised them, because I was studying in Vienna, but I come from the countryside. It's a 3-hour train ride. And, I burst in, and I'm like, Mom, Dad. And they're like, hey, oh, wow, what a nice surprise. How are you doing, son? How's university? I'm like, oh, yeah, I quit. Anyways, I need $5,000. And they're like, what? And I've always been a good kid, I've always been relatively good at school. And then just surprising them with I quit college. I dropped out of university, and I need money on top of that. And I explained them a lot. And, it sounded so ridiculous, because I said, look, there's this internet company that I know from the internet. They teach social dynamics and personal development, and they invited me to work for free for them. I have to pay everything. And for them, my parents are from a different generation, so they're like, this internet company is a scam, blah, blah, blah. And again, I don't want to bore you with too many details, but 5 hours later, we talked for a whole afternoon. I told them my whole story of how I got, from the shy guy to, being more confident, because they saw me getting more confident. And I said I had mentors I learned, and I want to help people doing that as well. And so there was this challenge in my life that I have overcome, meaning I was bad with people. I was introverted, and I overcame that. I became more social. I got a great girlfriend and stuff like that. So they could kind of connect that. And then they said, I'll never forget that my dad, he pulled me aside and he said, son, I don't think it's a good idea. I think, honestly, objectively speaking, it's a dumb idea, and I think you'll fail. But I'm your father, and I know that everything you've done in your life so far, you've pulled through, right? You wanted to learn how to play guitar, so you learned it, and you got a teacher for that, and you had to commute to that teacher for like an hour every Tuesday. I trust that you're doing the right thing. I can't see it work, but I trust that you can see it work. And that's why we decided to give you the money. And years later, on a side note, I'll be forever grateful for my dad to have given me that trust. I think that's the biggest gift a dad can give a son, I guess. Not a dad myself yet, but that is showing, hey, you, as my son, I trust in your judgment. And 2 weeks later, I was on that flight to Miami, $16,000 in debt. And I worked for free. And I worked my butt off. And it was great. It was amazing. And fast forward, after another 6 months for free. So I worked for that company for a year for free. And I never cared because I was on my path and I could help people and I could see a tiny, tiny glimpse of my bright future. The sun is going down right now. I see a tiny glimpse of the sun. That's kind of how it is. Of like, maybe it could work. You know, maybe my future is not a silly, stupid, boring, dead-end 9-to-5 future. Maybe. And after working for free for them for a whole year, I got pulled aside and they said, I was at a business meeting with them. It was like a business dinner meeting and they said, we want you to become the new instructor for us. You're going to go on a world tour, you're going to get paid. And I'm like, I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. And I asked, oh, when does it start? And they said, they were always confused because I asked, they said, it starts now. And I remember my parents obviously knew about that dream, and I was in Vegas as I got told that I will be chosen for that paid position. And I didn't tell my parents, I think, for a month. I was in the middle of my first world tour. I was somewhere touring in Scandinavia as a coach for social dynamics and for personal development. I didn't even tell my parents that I made it, that I'm living the life now. And what I liked about that a lot is I could help people. I could help people overcome the exact challenge that I've had. Right? I was lonely. I was not popular, but I became popular and became social. I didn't have a degree in that. I didn't have a certificate in that. I overcame that challenge myself and I started helping people. And it was amazing. And the following 4 years were absolutely nuts for me. They were crazy. Because for 4 years I've been traveling the world and I made good money. You know, I made maybe between 5 and 10K a month while traveling the world. As a 23 or 24-year-old, that is good money, you know? And I built my brand with that and it was great and I could help so many people and I really, really loved it. It fulfilled me on a very deep level. But I also was whack. That's the word we kind of use nowadays. Whack. I was a whack job. I was a whack individual. I did not care about how I present myself. I did not build a business upon that. I was a coach. The coaching part was there, meaning I wanted to help people. I wanted to, and I made good money. I mean, 5 to 10K is not too bad. But the business side was completely lacking. I wasn't professional. I wasn't thinking about scaling. I had no idea about business, quite frankly. And, you know, I did that. I toured the world for 4 years, built a big brand with that, helped a lot of people. And slowly but steadily, I moved more and more away from that because I felt like it burns me out. The offline aspect of having to be there in person, working with clients in person, and, you know, traveling there, being at a certain time, at a certain place, it burnt me out like crazy. And I'll never forget that. After my 4th world tour, I was so burnt out. I had my last date of that year in Gothenburg, doing 3 seminars there. I think it was 2016. It was right when The Force Awakens came out. It must have been 2016 or I think it was 2016 or 2015 even, something like that. And I thought it was the 22nd of December. I was about to come home and I was a wreck. I was physically, but mostly mentally a complete wreck. I couldn't sleep anymore. I remember laying awake, literally, not an exaggeration, just laying awake the entire night. Going to bed at like 9 p.m. because the next day I had to get up at 8 a.m. in the morning to go to the seminar. I would go to bed at 9 p.m. to, you know, make sure I get enough sleep, and I would just lie awake until 7:55. And at 7:55, I'm like, well, I got to get up in 5 minutes. What's the point? And if I did fall asleep, I would sleep 16 hours straight. I couldn't eat properly anymore. And I'll never forget that at some point I was in the Airbnb in Gothenburg and I stepped through the window, and I'm a very positive person. I'm not a very negative person. But somehow I had that shocking, surprising thought saying, you know what, if you just jump down now, all your worries would be gone. If you opened your window and you just, boop, you're good. And as fast as that thought came, as fast I was stepping away from the window, and I'm like, what did I just think? Like, what just happened? And it was kind of like I got to a point where I let that hustle, the work, kill me. I felt very little passion anymore for what I did. And I completely neglected myself. And I think some people feel like that. Maybe even many people feel like that, their 9-to-5 job burns them out. And I came home and, I was supposed to hang out with my family and, be there with them. But it was like I was an empty shell. I looked myself in the mirror and I kind of logically knew it was me, but I felt like I was not looking at a person anymore. So I realized something had to change. I still like working with people. I still like helping people. Something has to change. And that's where I started getting into the second stage. And I said, okay, I need to transition to online coaching. And I started creating info products for the self-development. And these info products were great, but they were also not so great. They were great for one thing because they made me a lot of money. I learned a lot about the marketing aspect. I learned a lot about, this is how you sell. This is how you market. This is how you position yourself. A lot of things about brand building that I later on in retrospective realized that I kind of did right back then, but now I can put it into words. I learned so much about that. But at the same time, they were bad because I felt like all of these people that would buy these programs, very rarely would there be someone who would actually get results from it. And that's why I got into this business in the first place, because I wanted to help people. I wanted to coach people. I love the idea of seeing them get results, right? So I kind of realized like, okay, well, info products might be okay on a business side. They're not so good on a results side. And that made me very sad. And I realized that it's not about information. Nobody cares about the information. The information is out there for free on YouTube anyway. People need to be constantly held accountable. People need to be needed to be mentored. People needed to get feedback, right? And that was kind of what was in my mind. But at that point, I didn't know what a good way is to do that, because I'm like, I don't want to go back to offline coaching, right? But at the same time, I had made my first million from these info products. I was 26 years old, and I overcame burnout and 4 years of traveling, and it all started with me, being on that flight back then to Miami to work for free with $16,000 in debt. And I look back and it was absolutely mind-blowing that it was possible. I was neither someone with, above average intelligence, neither did I have a certificate, neither did I have a great business idea. God damn it, I didn't do anything new. Neither was I a person that had, a university degree at all. I dropped out of college. Neither did I have like connections whatsoever. I just wanted it to work. I just hated the alternative. The alternative being having to work a 9-to-5 job. I wanted it so badly that I just put in the work. And obviously I had great mentors along the way, but I also just needed to work hard on it. And then I realized, okay, there must be a solution. How can I continue to be free, make good money, and still help people, and obviously have them get results? And that was to a point where I got closed. I got closed by my still business mentors. They reached out to me. They got me on a call. I didn't even know I was on a sales call back then. And they quote unquote closed me. And they said, what do you want? And I told them these exact three things. I said, I want to be free. I want to make good money, and I want to help people get real results. And they said, we can help you get there. And, I started paying them a lot of money. And then what happened was they slowly but steadily helped me. Number one, they helped me get on the right path. They said, your solution is online coaching. All right. Not offline coaching as you've done so far, not info product, have your clients watch videos, but online coaching, meaning you coach clients online. You can still automate almost everything around that, but you're still going to hold them accountable, which means they're still going to get results. You're free. You can do that from wherever you want. You're making good money from that. In fact, we're going to help you position yourself properly, so you're not going to sell $200 info products, but you're selling proper coaching for a higher price, and your clients are going to get real results, which makes, which enables you to be psyched, to be passionate about that. And slowly but steadily, the other thing that helped me a lot with this, they made me less whack. Back then I would still go on stage, barefoot. I would wear like a Jurassic Park tank top and, shorts. And I still do that privately, right? But I don't, like right now, you guys are recording this, I'm looking the part. I became more professional, and I started taking the business side of things more seriously. And I started scaling my business, and I made my second and my third million. And that felt really good. And then I realized, like Steve Jobs, like, wait, there's more. I felt a different calling, if you will. I'm not a big woo guy, but I said, I'm good with the personal development stuff. It was great as long as it lasted, and I'm always going to do it for a very long time. But I want to move away from it. Because if there's one thing I'm goddamn really good at, that I've been getting better and better over the last years, is knowing how to build a very, very successful and lucrative online coaching business. And it was actually my mentors who helped me get to that realization. They said, Max, you should help people how to build their own online coaching businesses. And I'm like, I'm not a business expert. I'm a guy who's teaching self-development, right? And it was so crazy because, and I'll love them forever for that. They said, Max, look at you. You've built an empire with your online coaching business. You know business very, very well. And that's the beauty about mentors. They have this like outside, bird's eye perspective onto things. And they see things beyond your own insecurities, beyond your own success barriers. And they're like, dude, you know this super duper well. And, I partnered up with them. They're still my mentors. In fact, I have mentors in every area of my life that is important to me. I told you guys that off camera. I have mentors for fitness, for nutrition, for mobility and stretching, for spirituality, for business strategy, for sales, for team building, and so on and so forth, for public speaking still. So that's the beauty about mentoring, and they really helped me for that. And like I said, I'm still working together with them, and that is how I built, what we see now. That is how I said I will transcend from the whack self-development coach that is on stage barefoot to something more legit. From the here's how you're happy and some cool concepts that have helped me so much, to on top of that become the guy who says, okay, I help my clients build their own successful online coaching businesses as well. And I'll never forget our first client making his first 4 figures. I'll never forget a first client making 10K. Now we have so many clients making 4 to 5 figures a month. It's gotten to a point where we know exactly what works. We know exactly how to get there. We know the exact proven path to get there. And again, there's so many details, so much more layers that I could talk about here. But, fast forward now, I have a great, amazing team. We're all hustling alongside each other. We're getting real, tangible, real results to our clients. We're keeping them accountable. I fly some of my clients into our office here in Kiev. We hang out, we have shisha, and it feels so amazing because for the first time in my life, I know exactly where I want to be. I feel content on a financial level where I'm saying I really do make good money. I can do anything in the world that I want to do. I don't even need to continue working anymore. If I don't want to work, I can just quit everything and, that's it. But at the same time, I feel content on a passion level. I love waking up in the morning, going into onto my Facebook messages or WhatsApp messages and seeing, clients making money. And I'm like, there's some real stuff that we're doing. It's like the personal development, the kind of like the dating advice stuff that I used to do. But on top of that, like on a grander scale. And, for years as a dating coach, personal development coach, I help people become more confident. I help people, get better lives, get great relationships. Some of these people got married and stuff like that. That's really amazing. But I almost feel like it's more measurable with what we're doing now, because like this is how much money they're making now. Now they're free and they can, travel the world. We have clients like traveling, sending us travel pictures and stuff like that. And I feel like it's all meant to be. It like seeing how all these small different decisions have kind of led up to where I am right now makes me wonder, like, what else is in store? I can barely get any better. But I know on a deeper level that it will get better because I'm growing, I'm getting better. Our clients are getting better. We as a team are getting better. My relationships as a result of that are getting better. My relationships to my girlfriend, relationships to my parents, to my friends, to my family. Life can be so goddamn wonderful. And I guess what I want to say with that is I'm in the business, if you want to say, of empowerment. I want to show people that, look, if I can make it, okay, below average intelligence, whack job from small Austrian Alps with very little, but the willingness to make it happen and the despise for 9 to 5, if I can make it, you can make it as well. And empowering people on a daily basis and, seeing our clients waking up. Like that's usually the first layer of change. They wake up. They get hungry. They get more alive because we instill into them the understanding that they can make it. Not their friend, not the person that they watch on YouTube, not someone else, but they, them, there, right? They right now can make it happen. That's the first layer, and you see them changing. You can watch them change. And the second layer is them, getting their first client or figuring out what they want to do with their online coaching or online service providing. And then the next layer is getting their first client, and the next layer is getting them more clients, and the next layer is, getting them from 5K to 10K a month, and then scaling them up and helping them automate their processes and, scaling up to 6 figures and beyond. It's 2019 as a recording of this video. We are well on our way to creating our first millionaire from scratch for 2020. And, money doesn't bring happiness, la-di-da, but there's some real change we're bringing, and I can't wait for the first millionaire that we've created from scratch. And like I said, all I want to say is it's possible. Everybody can do it. If I did it, you can do it. Just get a little bit of help, make things happen. Believe in your dreams, regardless of how big they are, regardless of people around you saying it's stupid. Maybe your parents don't support you. Maybe your friends, family don't support you. Maybe nobody supports you. But I'm here. I believe you can make it happen because I did it and I see it every day. And being part of that upward spiral is incredible. I could have never believed that life can be that goddamn amazing. Life can be that joyful, that fulfilling, that beautiful, that full of so many lessons, And that is what we're doing. That is why we're doing that. And I really hope that, anybody watching this can somehow relate to that. Can somehow, maybe just one person say, you know what, screw it, I'll do it. Because what the hell is the alternative? Make it happen, Spread your wings and fly. That's really it.